What is up guys, Ginter here, and today we're gonna do some battery things. Who remembers phones like this? Actually, does anyone know what phone this is? My true nerds out there will know. Back in the day, you can have a phone with a replaceable battery. Man, those were the days. And of course, nowadays we have phones bigger with batteries that we can't replace. Well, at least not easily replace. And what happens is if you don't replace them, they tend to swell. Heck, I got one even swelling in one of the laptops I still have sitting around, and it's not pretty. Heck, even all my sensors and detectors and all that stuff use these dang button cell batteries. This baggie actually has a hole in it. All right, let me put this bag away before it gets everywhere. That bag is full of dead cell batteries because I have to replace them all the time. But yeah, on to Onewheels. The good old GT is back on the bench again, and if you know the history behind this board, well, it's been through a lot, including having its battery replaced. In fact, almost 2 years ago, I did have to have it replaced by Future Motion. I got a whole video on it if you want to check it out and hear about that saga, but it was out of warranty. It cost me over $630, which really stung because I had only had the board for roughly a year. Now, in this board, I had that replacement battery for almost 2 years, which is much better. And it's finally starting to it's finally starting to show its age. And the voltage wasn't going up all the way. Now, thankfully, California passed a law that does allow for right to repair or enforces right to repair, and Future Motion does exist in California, and so you can now replace those batteries yourself. You buy the module for it, and it's not cheap, and part of that is because it does come with the whole enclosure. You can't buy just the battery, you have to buy the enclosure, the battery, the BMS, the wiring, the charging plug that's part of that, the LED strip that's in there, like everything. And I get it, it's easier for the regular consumer to at least take the board apart to that point and just unplug the battery from the controller box and replace it. So there is liability involved for them. They are concerned about users tampering with their battery, which is why you can't just replace the battery yourself. Thankfully for me, this is now a GTV. Again, this board is broken a lot. I have VESC'd it. That's what the V stands for in GTV. VESC meaning that it is running aftermarket electronics for the controller, which allows me to fully control and customize this board, including changing out the battery myself. So, enough talking. Let's get to taking this board apart, and then I'll get back to talking as I take it apart, because why not? I think it's almost time to put some new bang bumpers on this guy. These are still stock bumpers. I do have some fresh bangs that have been sitting on that shelf for a long time now that I've been dying to use. The one thing that is not fun about doing battery replacements is you do pretty much have to almost fully disassemble your board. The only thing you don't really have to do is open up the controller up in front, or the motor, the stator, that can stay in there. But in order to get inside that battery box, both rails pretty much have to come all the way off. Some of you guys are probably wondering why I don't have my MTE on here. This is actually a 6-inch, whoop, hate it when that happens. This guy's actually a 6-inch hub from an XR using Tech Rails axle blocks or hub adapters to make it work on there. And I really do want to have another MTE on this board, but it's currently on my GTS, and I feel like if I were to take that and put it on this board, I probably won't ride the GTS much anymore, just because that is one of the things I do look forward to when I do ride my GTS, is having that MTE on there with the 5-inch Pioneer. That is a killer combo. All right, got the motor free. Thankfully, I do like this tire a lot, so, and it only comes on the 6-inch. It's the Trail Pro 2, so scored a decent deal on that when it first came out, and it has also been a really solid tire. So, got 2 boards that I love to ride. This one a little bit more, which is probably why the battery is already shot on it. But we got the controller and the battery here. To get to the battery screws, we got to flip this guy over, change out to the security bit, which I've mentioned it before, but if you need the bits for working on your Onewheel, go to thefloatlife.com and just buy their toolkit, because it does come with all the bits you need to work on your board, whether it's a GT or an XR or whatever. They've got it there. It's decently priced, and yeah, that's pretty much what I did. So in this board, I am rocking the GTV kit from Floatwheel. I went with it because it was the easiest VESC conversion at the time to just drop into my broken GT. And it's been using the stock battery from Future Motion, which is an 18S2P, is it a 75 volt, 76 volt? I'm not really a battery expert here. I've been doing a lot of my own research and conferring with some of my other VESC buddies and battery builders on making sure I'm sourcing and putting in the right parts for this. And yes, I could have potentially upgraded this board to put in a much higher voltage battery pack, because the kit that I have in here, the capacitors are rated for 100 volts. Supposedly I can at least get up to an 84 volt build for this, but then going higher voltage means I also have to replace the BMS in the back, which also means I'll need a charger to match it. As it stands now, keeping it all with a GT voltage means that I don't have to change out the charger or the BMS, so save me a little bit of money there. And for the most part, this has been pretty good for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I could tell the difference between, oh, I forgot a screw. Don't get me wrong, I could tell the difference between the GTS and its 113 volts versus this guy, but only at higher speeds. And I do prefer to cruise a little bit more, and by cruise I do mean going 20-ish or more, but not too much more. Unless I'm trying to compete in the underground and do some racing and keeping up with some of the fast guys we got here at AZ, I tend to not overdo it too much, so this setup has been good enough for me. And since I'm a lighter rider, the torque and the ability to climb hills has also been enough for me. So I'm not quite eager to make the jump to higher voltage systems just yet. Maybe when I get around to vesting the XR, I'll do that. But also, I still need to build the XR in the first place. So that's, again, still on in the books as a project. I'll be honest, I've been slacking on that. And that's mainly because I already have 2 boards that work really well for me, and just haven't been in a rush to take that board apart and rebuild it, since A, it works, and B, I have these 2 boards, my GTV on the table and my GTS, which is over there, to ride just in the meantime. So, you know how it is when you got something, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of a mentality. So I've been just, you know, enjoying riding, especially right now here in Arizona. It's nice weather to be riding. So yeah, here we go. We've got the battery box open. Now, my battery I bought from FM, or that I had them install, has already been replaced. I've actually been using this battery for the last, I'd say two and a half weeks so far. So this battery has been, I think, okay. It actually shows it getting a full voltage for a full charge. But before I got this battery installed, I reached out to one of our local battery builders here in the Valley, and he built me a replacement battery before I got my hands on this one. And it's actually a little bit better. So it's still the same voltage as a stock GT, but it's using upgraded cells. So if my knowledge serves me right, most GTs have Molicell P45As, I think. And the battery pack he built me is this guy right here, which is the Molicell P45B. And I'm not gonna get too technical, even though I already kind of have been, just because I'm always being cautious about saying things wrong. But I believe the A versus B means that, first off, slightly higher capacity. I think this guy is an 8.4 amp hours and this guy is 9 amp hours. So I will get a little bit more range. And the Bs supposedly handle higher amps. So higher amps, faster discharge rates, which means it has the potential to be a little torqueier, handle heat better, even recharge faster, possibly. So the other thing you can take from that is the better battery cells with higher amperage should also reduce battery sag. So if you have any power dips, especially like when your battery level gets low, say 30%, 20%, you kind of feel your power of your board kind of going down as the battery gets lower and lower. The higher amp batteries should be able to combat that and still give you a bit more punch even when it's getting low. So that's my hope. Yeah, let's try and get this guy in there. By the way, don't ever replace your battery yourself if you have an FM board. The BMS is serialized to the controller, I think. Basically, if the BMS loses power, it will lose that serialization because it's in memory that disappears once it loses power. And then when you try to turn it back on, it doesn't know who it was paired with, and your board will just be dead, unfortunately. So if you have an FM board, a future motion board, don't replace just your battery yourself. There is a way to do it. I've never done it myself. I'm told if there's a way that you can supply power to the BMS while you're disconnecting your battery and then plugging another battery, you can keep it alive so it doesn't lose all that information and blah, blah, blah. Not recommended. It's doable, but not recommended, because if you just make one little mistake and your BMS loses power, well, you just bricked your board and you will have to send it to Future Motion for them to fix it for you. It sucks. I'm not an FFM person. I understand both a business sense for it and a safety sense for it. So it is what it is. Honestly, if you are a diehard rider and do like to tinker, Vesco might be up your alley in the future. But if you just want to ride, you have to pay the FM tax. It's just the kind of way it is. So yeah, I'm just sharing with you my experience. Maybe you're not a Vesco rider right now, but you're wondering what's involved with being one. This is kind of giving you a little insight into at least what I know when it comes to working on Vesco boards, and specifically for this video, batteries. So here is the stock battery from Future Motion and this pack right here. Now, not sponsored, but there are a lot of battery builders out there. We are lucky to have somebody here in the Valley that can build batteries for e-bikes and e-scooters and even Onewheels. So I reached out to him to see if he could help me out with getting a new battery, because I've never done it before and I didn't know what I was doing. And he helped me out and talked me through a lot of things. His name is Ben. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate you so much. And I'm even trying to learn a little bit more about building them myself, because if you can build them yourself and you know what you're doing, you can definitely save some money. These batteries are one of the most expensive components in the board, and they go bad. Like we were just saying earlier, they go bad. So having the ability to build them, let alone replace them, is huge. It is absolutely huge. Super great guy. He actually built me this battery earlier, and I shot this whole video and realized that the lid wasn't closing. It was just a little bit too thick. So I'm hoping this time it closes. Moment of truth before I slap the BMS back in there. Perfectly good on this side, a little high on this side. Is there anything? You know what? It might be sitting on some of the wires down at the bottom. Yep, it was. These boxes, the tolerances for space is so tight. So let me show you. All right, so the boxes, these wires that run along the side, as well as these wires here that I kind of just taped up and out of the way, you have to be extra careful when inserting this battery back into the box to not have them all bunched up or pushed against and causing stress on anything. I've actually stressed out my LED light plug here in the front and ripped it out. And because these are gonna be pushed against by this big battery and then by vibrations, if you do bonks or drops, ramps, etc., it's gonna push down and pull and cause abrasion on your wires. And yeah, you don't want that. You want to make sure you have it nice and clean and tidy. Super duper important. Not just for your safety, but because taking the board back apart to troubleshoot it like this, it sucks. It's actually one of the reasons I didn't want to go VESC, was I didn't want to have to work on my board all the time, because I enjoy riding more than I enjoy fixing all the time. And I would imagine that you do too. You know, unless you're a shop and your business and your finances depend on you working on boards all the time, which I'm gonna assume are not your boards and other people's boards anyways, then working on your board is time that could be spent out there riding. And so I tell people, VESC is nice, and if you don't mind tinkering or you like this kind of stuff, then more power to you. You can save money, you can build a more powerful board, but you will be spending that time in your garage or shop or whatever working on your board from time to time, because that is the only way to keep it running sometimes. All right, let's see if this lid fits a little bit better now. Oh yeah, much, much better. Whew, little spark on that guy. Time to see if it turns on. Nice, we got a beep. Lights are all on, batteries plugged in. We're successfully connected to the VESC. We're gonna close that out for now, turn it off, and button her all back up. And then we gotta go and ride it. All right, I think that's gonna do it for right now. Double check, triple check, make sure the board is good. Sounds pretty good to me. We're gonna leave it on the charger for at least overnight. Make sure this battery is fully charged. I'm gonna go through a few rides and see if I notice any difference between going from the P45As to the P45Bs with the better amp, discharge, recharge, etc., nerdy battery things. So yeah, I'll see you after a couple ride montages. Ooh, simmer down now. All right, so I have actually ran down the battery, not quite all the way. I've done a couple rides on this new battery, which was important to me because I wanted to make sure I cycled it through a little bit, used it, make sure it was good before I did a long ride, but also let it discharge and recharge a few times before I really do a range test. And yeah, right now, that's the plan. I'm at Tempe Town Lake, so I'm in the city of Tempe. I've mapped out a route that's supposed to take me up north about 10 to 12 miles, depending on how many detours I take. And then I'm gonna circle back and head back down here, and that'll put me at another 10 to 12 miles. So I'm guesstimating around 25 miles, which is what I was already getting on the stock GT battery. This battery is supposed to have slightly more capacity, so I'm thinking I'll get more than that. So I didn't want to get caught way out there with a dead battery and having to, Uber myself back to my car at the parking lot. Instead, I will make my way back down here to Tempe Town Lake, and there is a nice path that goes around the lake here, and that will allow me to do some loops and try to run down the battery, because I want to not only see what kind of range I get, but I want to test if I'm getting any voltage sag once I get below that 20% mark, and if I notice a difference in torque as well. So yeah, let's get out of this car. It is about 4 o'clock right now, and I'm guessing by the time we wrap this up, it'll be close to sunset, so hopefully we'll have some nice views. But yeah, let's get the Crocs off, get some riding shoes on. No offense if you're riding Crocs. I love Crocs. I just don't like riding in them. And get the board out and get rolling. See? I told you there's a lake here. We got water here. So as you can see, I'm back now at Tempe Town Lake. We've already done 20 something miles. Hold on, let me pull it up, just double check. 22.3 miles. Says I still have 20% battery at 61-ish volts. I'm kind of rocking back and forth on the board right now, so could be not the most accurate, but it still has juice. And the as you can see, the sun is going down behind me, so I guess I gotta go do some loops around this lake, and yeah, I'll report back in the garage how far I got. Also, I want to get some ice cream, so gotta go get some ice cream. What? You think I was joking? It's finally dying. So yeah, that was a long evening, just like how this video is getting. So let's try and wrap this up. As you saw, I rode a mix of terrains. I'd say it was about 70% street and 30% trail. And it also included an elevation change of roughly 735 feet. My average speed was 12.8 miles per hour, and my max was 26.4. I started getting low voltage tilt back around the 25 mile mark, and I continued to ride it cautiously for another mile or so. It was a slow crawl, but thankfully I did manage to make it back to the car with just 6% battery left. And yeah, at the end of the whole evening, it took 4 hours, believe it or not. But only half of that was the actual ride. The remaining 2-ish hours were setting up ride shots for this video and snapping photos and taking foot breaks. And yeah, I also ran into some friends, so I stopped to chat once in a while and let the board do its best dance thing, so that burned down a little bit of battery. But yeah. Oh yeah, and the ice cream. Can't forget the ice cream. So that left me with a total distance of 26 miles, which was pretty much spot on with my prediction. But I think it would have traveled further if I didn't do so much lingering. Okay, so what about the low voltage torque? Well, I did not notice any sag during the range test, so I decided to run it down again and do like a slow hill climb test. As you can see, this was a fairly steep grade. The battery was below 15%, and it was still able to do a slow crawl up that incline without any issue. In fact, it didn't even beep or haptic buzz or anything. So that's a testament to the power of VESC, but also the battery. So what is the overall takeaway here? Yeah, it's a solid battery. No, seriously, it works as expected, has noticeably more power when it's low, and it's a direct plug-and-play replacement for the stock GT battery. And it was way cheaper since I installed it myself. Anyways, that's Ginter for now. If you enjoyed the video and or learned something, do me a solid and bonk that like button. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. I know this was a long one, so thank you so much if you stuck around to the end. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links in the description and use my discount codes whenever they're applicable. And also, if you really want to see more videos, you can support my caffeine addiction by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ThatsGinter. Okay, that's it. I'm out. Time to go get a foot massage or something. Did you say foot-long sausage? No, dang it. Mikey, I thought I fired you. You know I can't afford extra food for you right now.
Whoa, that's okay. I've been licking 9 volts to give me a flavorful surge of energy.
No, I don't think that will give you more energy. Don't eat that. Float on, my friends. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Yeah, hello, 911. Yeah, my friend just ate a button cell battery.